Dan, the card man, sports card dad, I'm going to politely disagree and tell you you're both wrong. And your inexperience is really glaring. Let me explain why. If you guys haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to drop links below to both videos I'm referring to. Both came out today on December 5th. One's Dan the Card Man in his reference to Eric, who made a comment about local sports card stores having no purpose and they should all go bankrupt. We'll talk about that. And the other one is Sports Card Dad talking about retail, and retail flipping has ended because there's so many cards in the retail section, so the world must be fine. And it's now time for collectors to come back and buy retail. We're going to talk about both those things, and I'm going to correct them and point out they're both wrong. They're both absolutely wrong, and I'll explain to you why they're wrong. And I'm also looking for your comments, your feedback. Why am I right or why am I wrong? Let's go ahead and jump into it. First, let me say I'm a huge fan of both of these guys, and I hope they don't take this criticism personally. But I think it's important that someone with a little bit more experience than just a few years in the sports card world share some insight on these things. First one, Dustin makes comments about how now that you go to retail, the retail sports card, that the investor flipping game is over and now collectors can come back. It's a great time for collectors. Well, let me share with you a little secret. Dustin, I'm a collector, been a collector for a while now, and I know other collectors, and retail is crap. Collectors know that. I'm not kidding. Real collectors know that retail is poop. Poop. When I got into retail back in 2015, 16, right? It was all about the hobby box. The only retail that I was ever told that you should ever pick up, and this is still sound today, is Prism basketball and Bowman baseball. Now, the only thing that's changed on that, now I'll be honest, I still think those are the only two things you should ever pick up. Prism basketball and Bowman baseball. Now, there is an exception. That's football. Football has become hot based on the rookie class and certain rookie products like Prism football and Optic football. Both products very, very hot, especially with the draft class. Let me point out, if you go to retail sections, you're not going to find those four products. You are finding every now and then a Prism Cello. There's a lot of Prism basketball out there, but you're not finding those core products. What you are finding is a lot of junk, a lot of junk, a lot of garbage. So don't listen to Dustin and think you're collecting when you're picking up Chronicles or Illusions or any draft product or a Bowman product, or God help you, if you pick up a Wildfire, none of that is collectible. Now, I know you say, oh, Ziggy, I am a collector. I like it. Now, look, I'm talking about value, collectability, the whole thing, the whole journey. Real collectors, and there's always an exception because people collect toenails and they're real collectors too. But for the most part, real collectors don't pick up that junk. And flippers are still going after that. Flippers know that. Flippers are still buying it. They don't have to resell it right away. Just because you go on eBay and see that a blaster box is $35 or $40 doesn't mean it's a bad idea to pick one up for $30 at the store today. Because in the future, history is that probably will have some value. Will they be 3 or 4x? No. But that's what collectors are going to want. They're going to want Prism basketball in the future. They want Optic football. They're going to want Bowman with the Bowman first. That's all very, very important. So what you're seeing going on in retail is very, very important. It's a barometer. It is not, it's okay for collectors. We're basically fair. We're weaking out the herd. Like those people eat that stuff, they're getting poisoned. If you see somebody trying to resell draft to you, you can tell they're kind of ignorant to what the hobby wants. Now, let's go into the second topic that I want to talk about, and that's Dan calling Eric a village idiot. Okay, so first of all, let me say this. Again, I like Dan the Card Man. I also like Eric. I think this was, obviously this is a clickbait thing. I don't think Eric probably took offense to this. I don't think you should have done this by calling him a village idiot. I mean, it's just not right. I mean, just not right, Dan the Card Man. I mean, you look kind of foolish right now when I explain to you what the reality of this is. Anyway, if those of you who don't know what he's talking about, is Eric on the loot box, which I actually listened to the night that happened, said that he thought local card stores should be a kind of obsolete. He actually kind of lets him off the hook in his explanation. If you go to listen to it, he says, all these mom and pop crunchy ones should go away and should only have high end ones, kind of like sneaker stores, and they should have access to the best accounts, and that's where you get the best products. It's an interesting idea, and it's probably the future of the hobby because fanatics very much thinks like sneakerheads, and that's what they think the market's going to grow. But here is the reality, and something I've been saying for several years. Okay, guys, local card stores for the most have zero value in the hobby. Okay, when I came back to the hobby in 2015, my first thought was I got into breaks. I was an online because it's an online world. You guys heard about the internet. I was like, I went to some local card stores. So first of all, I'm in the DC area. I went to several of them. Every one of them was priced differently, and I quickly found out that most of them were just robbing me. Right? Everybody had the same product, widely different prices, and bullshit stories on why. What you boil it down to in 15, 16, this is a year 15, 16, you'll find out the cards are all about allocation. Who has the allocation of product from the distributor. So you early find out it's a very corrupt system. Part of this is the problem with local card stores. A lot of these old crunchity mungity card stores have allocation. They sit on that allocation. So they know they're going to get a case of NT, and they know that case of NT, they can make a car payment. I'm sorry, not car payment. They can buy a brand new car every year. They will sit on that and they'll sell it to another dealer. They're not going to give it to the local card community. Is my point. They know the value. They'd rather sell it to their dealer and make more money. They're all driven by profit. Why? Because they're a business and they're supposed to be for profit. Now, is there a reason for local card stores? I don't see a good reason to have local card stores. There always will be one. It's kind of like, trying to think. I guess there's movie stores too, but it just doesn't make sense to me. Everything people tell you about a local card store, like I heard Dan the Man say, well, local card stores are important for the little leagues. They help sponsor little leagues. You think someone else isn't going to sponsor the little league? The local tint store is going to sponsor, the coffee shop's going to do it. It's not like the little league's going to struggle because the local card store went under. And don't listen to the bullshit when your local card store comes to you in a few months and says, hey, we're going under. We're not going to be able to finance the little league. So make sure you buy your purchases from us. No. Let me just go over this again. Most local card stores will go out of business. There's way too many of them. Okay. Like in the last 2 years, everybody opened one. I don't know why you open them. I applaud your passion. I feel your love and heart. You want to be in the cards too, man. But that was a poor business decision. And your friends who sat there and said, yeah, you can do it. You're different. They are poor business advisors. There's nobody who opened a local card store recently who is likely to do well. Unless you bought allocation. If you bought allocation, you probably paid a lot for it. And now that allocation is probably done at the because of fanatics, you're doomed. You see what I'm saying? Like, why did you get a local card store? So let me go back to Eric's comments. I agree with him. I think he's wrong though. We don't need a couple high-end ones that have this extreme accounts. Here's the deal. We need a couple display centers. You might go to at a game, you go to the Wizards game or you go to the Commanders game, you might see a display of some of the new products coming out. You may be able to get a drawing of that, but I want everything to be available for me online direct. I don't want a local card store. I don't want a distributor in the middle. There's no reason for it. Again, if you research this Dan the Card Man, what you find out, the reason, again, it goes back to those allocations and how they sat on those. And those allocations have been the lifeblood of the hobby. And they were used to force what we call channel stuff, right? So for example, I think this is a great one. Retro Hoops, guys, if you're paying attention to this one, I want to point out that Hoops, the product you think is great to buy at $200 to $500 a box, its suggested retail price was around $79 to $99. Hoops Hobby Box suggested retail price was under $100, and it still is. It's not meant to be a very expensive product, guys. And back in the day, they would force you to buy 50 cases of Hoops if you want one case of National Treasures. And that isn't because Hoops is such a wonderful product and there's such demand. It's because it's called channel stuffing. Okay, so another comment that I hear people make is, why don't they do better products? Well, part of that is, guys, is they make too many products, and they've made too many products, like we talked about in the beginning with the retail and all the retail products. Here's my summary. Dan, Dustin, look back a few years, guys. Listen to other people. Don't be so quick to judge. Think about why things happen. Okay, there's a lot of retail products because a lot of people, many of the influencers told them to go out and buy these products. They pumped illusions. In fact, how many freaking chuckleheads are still opening draft products? Or even my favorite, Panini Baseball. Like, don't even do it. You should not support Panini Baseball. You know why? Because they don't have a license. You should let that choke off and die. But we continue to water products that don't. I'm going off my tangent. Anyway, my point here in summary, guys, Eric's right. Let's not be too quick to call him a village idiot, Dan. Okay. I know you didn't mean it. I know you are a better person than that. And Dustin, just because you see the retail shelves doesn't mean that it's a great time for collectors. Okay. Real collectors know what's going on. Oh, last comment. Breaking. I have more to come on breaking. Breaking is good. Breaking is good for the hobby. Have a great day, guys. Stop, comment, like, subscribe.